Have you ever lied to a family about their child's behavior while they were gone because it was easier to say, yeah, they were great, rather than no, they were awful? That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video, so stay tuned. Hey sitters, welcome back to another video. It's Lydia, thanks for joining me. I want to take a moment to just tell you guys how much I appreciate you and growing this community of babysitters. That really means something to me and hopefully means something to a lot of you as well. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how important it is to give honest feedback to families and how we can go about doing that without hurting the family's feelings. So giving honest feedback as babysitters can be very difficult, and sometimes it is easier just to say, yeah, they were great, instead of actually, Timmy was awful tonight. And he gave me a run for my money. Sometimes it is easier just say, yep, they were great, and move on. But why should we not do that? Why is it important that we say, no, actually, Timmy really was awful? Not like that. We shouldn't be saying it like that. But it's the importance of being honest. That Timmy did not have a great night with me tonight, and he did have difficult times doing this or that, or he just didn't like me tonight, or... What I'm trying to get at is it is important to not let these families think their children are angels, because when you get burnt out or when you come time to just, you're over it, you're over the disrespect from Timmy, or you're over the fact that every time bedtime rolls around, it is a 2-hour struggle. You just quit without notice, and then the families are left thinking, what happened? You said that he's good every night. There's no problems. We pay you well. So what's the problem? Why are you quitting? So let's talk about how we can give honest feedback without being disrespectful or the family's getting defensive. So the first thing you need to do as a babysitter is build a positive rapport from the first day you start babysitting for that family. So to do this, whether the family asks you or does not ask, you need to let them know how their child was for you while they were away. So the end of the night comes, the kids are in bed, the family comes home, and they're handing you your money and sending you out the door. You need to make sure that you mention, hey, I just wanted to let you know your kids were great tonight. And give a little example. Like, your kid or your Timmy was so funny tonight, he made me laugh about 3 times. Or Jenny is so smart, she was able to tell me her colors and her numbers, and she showed me what she's doing in school. And just making sure you're building that positive rapport of your kids were great and here's what I noticed about each of them. Or Timmy was such a great helper cleaning up at the end of the night. Just building that positive rapport of what the children did, how they were great. So the reason that we build this positive rapport is that so we are building up positive, right? And then something negative happens. And instead of being down here where you didn't build up that positive, you are now here. And you talk about that negative, you are going to bring it down here, if that makes sense. So what we're trying to do is build up that positive, build up that communication with families, build up that honesty and very open communication with them, so that when there are negatives that come along, negative behaviors, it is easier for you to talk about them with the family and have them not have such a negative reaction to it or have them become defensive. For example, that first night that you babysit for them and you're telling them all these positives, there may have been a little hiccup here and there of negative things that went wrong or whatnot, but they weren't big issues and you knew how to handle them. There's no reason to mention them. Now, let's say that that first night was awful and that you do need to talk to them about that bedtime was a struggle for you and it wasn't something, it lasted 2 hours. Now, yes, you need to talk about those, but you need to also mention positives during that time. So don't focus just mainly on bedtime and let them know that like bedtime was awful and leave it at that. You need to let them know like, but he ate all of his dinner and bath time went great and he was amazing picking up his toys before bedtime. So that if you do have to, that first night, tell them that there was a big negative, that you're sprinkling in the positives too, that the whole night wasn't awful, it was just bedtime that you struggled with. So, like I said, build up the positives so that when you have to talk about a negative, it's not so hard-hitting. It is really important to explain to these families what went wrong and be detailed about it. So, for example, if bedtime was an issue for you, or that you had a hard time with little Timmy with bedtime, you can't just say, oh, bedtime was awful for us. Why was bedtime awful? Go into detail about, well, little Timmy wouldn't stay in his bed at all. So go into detail about how you guys did the routine. Make sure that you tell them what you did during your routine, because what could have happened, or what these parents may be able to help with, is that maybe you did the routine wrong. Maybe there's something that wasn't the exact same of how they do it, and that threw them through a loop. So let's just run this example, right? So I'm talking to the family and I say, well, little Timmy had a really hard time staying in bed. Okay, here's what we did for bedtime routine. We brushed his teeth, we put his PJs on, we read 2 books, and then I told him it was bedtime. I turned out the lights and I closed the door. Would not stay in bed, right? Okay, well, how many times did he come out of his room? He came out of his room 2 or 3 times before I told him, okay, you are allowed to be out of your bed, but you got to stay in your bedroom. Okay, and then he came out of his bedroom 2 more times, right? And this is all within the span of 30 minutes. So now I'm giving them a really step-by-step detailed, like kind of an itinerary of what we did, what happened, so that they can kind of walk it through with you and find maybe the flaws that happened. So the family could have said, okay, well, usually we don't turn out the lights and close the door. He's got a nightlight and a sound machine and his door stays open. Okay, solved the problem, right? So next time that I go to that house, I know that the light stays on, there's a night light and a sound machine that stays on, and the door stays open. Maybe the closet doors were closed and he's afraid of the closet doors being closed, or he's afraid of the closet doors being open, and he can't really communicate that over to you. Again, this is also dependent on the age, that these kids can't tell you what's wrong, or can't clue you in on what needs to happen. So by giving them a detailed explanation of what happened and what went on, they may help fix the problem. Or the scenario could go totally different. Of you give them a detailed, hey, he came out of his bedroom 3 times. I told him that he could stay out of his bed, but he needed to stay in his bedroom. He came out 2 more times. And the family could go, yeah, we are having the same issue. This isn't a you thing. We've been having an issue with him not staying in bed for 2 or 3 weeks now. And maybe it's not just you. Maybe it's not you as the babysitter. Maybe it is the child that is having the issue of staying in bed. But by you just saying, yeah, we had a great night, the parents are going to start thinking, oh, he stayed in bed for her? That's a little weird. It's important that you're being honest with the family about serious things that are going on. It will help you down the road, and it'll help the family as well to know what's going on. Another important key is not to make assumptions. You want to stay neutral. Unless the family asks you what you think's going on, you want to stay neutral. Give them the facts, let them know what's going on, and then ask for their opinion. Ask them what they think's going on. And if they have no clue and they might have asked you what's going on, like example, last night I was babysitting a family, 8-year-old little boy. He has a phone, has access to calling mom and dad. He was sitting on the couch with me, we were watching a show, and he called mom and dad in the middle of their dinner. Didn't even ask me, just called them. So it was on speakerphone, so I was able to hear the conversation. And they asked him a couple times what was wrong. And he said, nothing, I just want to know when you guys are going to be home. They gave him a time frame. And then they came home. Before they came home and after the phone call, he looked very exhausted. He was falling asleep on the floor. He was moving positions on the couch, trying to stay awake. I told him a couple times, like, you can go to bed if you'd like. And he's like, no, I'm fine. So when his parents got home and he was still awake, they told him to go to bed. So Dad went with him to go to the bedroom and get him to bed. And the mom asked why he called, because there was no reason for him to call her at all. And I had explained to her, I said, I think, because she had asked me what I think is going on, I think he has a fear of going to bed without you guys being here. That's what I've noticed. He was completely fine. He was in a good mood. He was watching a show that he liked. There was no reason for him to call you other than the fact that he was getting really tired. And I think he was afraid of falling asleep before you guys got home. And she had an aha moment, because she said usually he does not stay up this late. Usually he's in bed and he doesn't have a problem going to bed. So it was a real eye-opener for her to learn that as well. And she said, and I quote, "Thank you. That's good to know." So for the future, maybe they'll leave earlier and come home earlier so that he can go to bed. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it was a good realization for her. It was good for me to let her know what I thought, so that because it was a different outlook, it really helped her. Honest feedback is important for families so that they can adjust and help their child. That's all there is to it. Giving an update is really important, or a follow-up. So for example, with the Timmy situation in bedtime, the next time you babysit for them, you fix that problem of turning on the light, the sound machine, and opening the door. Let the family know how it went. If it went great, make sure to tell them that. Say, hey, your suggestion or your info on keeping the light on and the sound machine on and keeping the door open helped. Bedtime went so smoothly tonight. Or give them an update if it didn't go well. Hey, so I took your suggestion about keeping the light on, the sound machine, opening the door. Things didn't go as bad as the first night, but things weren't still were a little rough. Here's what happened tonight. Let me know if I did something I wouldn't say let me know if I did something wrong. But again, give them a detailed explanation of what you did. And maybe that night it was just that he was missing mom and dad. But as long as you can give them a follow-up and let them know things are getting better, or hey, things didn't really get better, just so that they know that you are trying. It is very important for you to give these families honest feedback, and you should be giving more positive feedback than negative feedback. So when that negative feedback rolls around, it is not as hard-hitting to these parents as if you were just to tell them all the negative all the time. Make sure that your communication is open and honest. If you guys have any questions for me, let me know down in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.